Hey, it's the Heavy Five, and this week we are talking about consistency. Many of the greatest bands of all time failed to put out more than a couple of records consecutively that were great. More often, a great band puts out their signature record, then follows it up with something that's considerably weaker, and then might not repeat another great release ever. Sure, we have the Beatles and the Stones and Zeppelin and Sabbath and later on Radiohead, who consistently put out great record after great record after great record. But those bands are the exception. There's a reason that those bands' names roll off the tip of our tongues. Many of the greatest records of all time were not followed by anything worth their salt. As De La Soul once said, 3 is the magic number. So today we are going to talk about bands that put out 3 great records in a row. Not okay records, not pretty good records, 3 great records in a row. These aren't the only examples of this, but I think these are good examples of this by what I believe to be truly great bands. I picked one from each of 5 decades, so let's go through them. In the 1970s, that band is the Ramones, who released their debut self-titled album in 1976 and followed that up with not one, but 2 incredible follow-ups in 1977, Leave Home and Rocket to Russia. The Ramones were nothing if not consistent, and those 3 albums are perfect downstroked power punk. The 1980s. Sure, Metallica is an example of this, but they are not the example of this. The example of this to me is Slayer, who from 1985 to 1988 released 3 undeniable classics: Hell Awaits, Rain and Blood, and South of Heaven. All sound incredible and ridiculously heavy to this day and are perfect encapsulations of what that band did great. In the 1990s, we have the Bay Area's Neurosis. Crust punks turned into sludge metal gods. They released a number of great albums, but 3 incredible LPs in a row, beginning in 1996 with Through Silver and Blood, which was followed by Times of Grace, and that was followed by A Sun That Never Sets. Those 3 Neurosis records are next to perfect. They're albums that you can't remove any one song from because they play as one complete piece, which is what makes them great albums. Neurosis, still incredible. The 2000s brings us the incredibly amazing Canadian anarchists, Godspeed You Black Emperor, who between 2000 and 2012 released 3 next to perfect records with Lift Your Skinny Fists Like Antennas to the Heavens, Yanqui UXO, and Alleluia, Don't Bend, Ascend. Godspeed is one of those bands that I listen to kind of constantly and have never stopped listening to since their debut LP, F Sharp, A Sharp, Infinity. Incredible records, perfect listening for kind of any mood. They can play in the background. Great atmosphere records, great heavy records. Love Godspeed You Black Emperor. And then in the 2010s, we have Deafheaven, who released, of course, their undeniable classic record, Sunbather, in 2013. That album was followed by New Bermuda, and then that was followed by Ordinary Corrupt Human Love. All 3 perfect illustrations of what became known as black gaze, their combination of black metal and shoegaze, derided by a lot of people, but I love Deafheaven, and these records are kind of perfect representations of those 2 blends of genre. So those are my 5 great 3 record runs. Again, not many bands have them, but those 5 bands over these recent decades did it as well as anybody. Let me know who I missed. I know there are a lot of examples of this, but there are less than you think. That's all for this week. Thanks again. Stay heavy.